Well, welcome to tonight's Fan Zone show. My name is Phil. We're live 7:30 till 8, as we are every Monday night of the season, and even in the close season. We want your views. Leicester went to Villa. We lost. It's 5 defeats on the trot. We've seen some signs of maybe improvement against Villa, Man City, Liverpool, but there's still 5 defeats on the trot. And the transfer window opened on January the 1st. We're now January the 6th. What and who and why do we need to sign some players? We're here for the next 30 minutes. I want all your views, all your comments. So much to talk about. Who should we sign? Do you care about QPR in the FA Cup at all? Or is it all about Crystal Palace a week on Friday? I want your views and I want your comments. Join me for the next 30 minutes.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.
Indeed, welcome to the show. Don't forget you can follow us at Leicester Fan TV on whatever social media platform you like. We always need your views. We want your comments. There's so much to talk about, but it's all about getting as many of your views on screen. And of course, if you want to join us live, I put the StreamYard link out. Please do click on that and come on live if you'd like to. We're live every Monday, 7:30 till 8. And I want to know, was it a good performance but a bad result again against Villa? Bit the same against Man City, Liverpool. Where are we? Who do we need to sign in January? Loads and loads of rumours out there, but we've got to sign somebody. Do we need to get them in on loan? Edouard, meant to be, we want to get rid of him, but they don't want him back. Bad signing again. Get your views in about that. Are you bothered at all about QPR in the FA Cup? I'm not. I'll say it. I'm not bothered about QPR in the FA Cup. All about the Premier League this season. Give the youngsters a run out against QPR, and let's see if any of them can break into the team. So we want your views, we want your comments as ever tonight. Matty, good evening. Is it true we breached financial again? I think it's been on the card since even the start of the season, Matty, that this could come back and bite us. They said at the time it wasn't done and dusted, so I hope not, but we're going to have to be very, very careful in the January transfer window. Craig says, good evening. Andy says, need a right back ASAP. What do you think to JJ? Listen, 3 years ago, he was on the fringes of England and, in fact, played for England. He's not a bad player. He's just making the wrong decisions. And is he the latest Daniel Amati? Are we all choosing to scapegoat him? But that second goal against Villa, bit of a mess. I'm going to get Tom on very shortly to talk about that. Vestergaard didn't do much better with his header down. Couple of mistakes here and there, and it's game over. Scotty, good evening, watching on YouTube. Maz is watching on Facebook. Good evening to you. Dave says, how's the flooding? Yeah, hopefully you guys haven't been flooded. I've been all right today, but I know there's been a lot of it around Leicester. Reported, says Tony, that we can't send Edouard back. You can't. We've loaned him in. Palace aren't daft. They've got rid of him. They did. Listen, at the start of the season, if you thought Palace loaned him to us because they rated him, they didn't. They've loaned him out. We're paying his wages. They won't have him back if they don't want him. Would you? But if we're going to have him on loan, we might as well see a bit of him, shouldn't we? Phil Upton says, Vestergaard injury versus Villa is going to take its toll on us this season. We don't know how long he's out for yet. Wayne says, we need signings and fast. We do. I see there's been a couple of signings already by some teams. Ipswich signed a player yesterday, so it can be done. Let's get in there. We're going to need to. Mark, good evening to you. Hope you're well. Andy says we need a JJ replacement urgently. Andy, would you take James Justin out the firing line? I'm sure we won't play against QPR. We've got to give somebody else a bit of a chance and give JJ a breather in there. Patrick says we won't sign anyone until PSR is known on the 13th of January. Well, we play, Patrick. I hope to goodness it's not as late as that, because we play Crystal Palace on the 15th. We play them next Wednesday, isn't it? We've got to have, if we don't have a signing in by next Wednesday, Patrick, that's too late, isn't it? They've got to give them, we know, you know, and I know we need some signings. Michael says, heard you on radio, Leicester. Yes, I was on earlier. So if you want to go and tune into that, When You're Smiling podcast, it's available on BBC Sounds. Give them a plug. Dorco says, get Luke Thomas at right back. He'll be better than JJ there. He did all right, Luke Thomas. Again, a lot of people haven't rated Luke Thomas, but I thought he did quite well against Villa, and the stats were there for him. Scott says, don't think we've any money for transfers. I think we're in for a points deduction. I mean, a points deduction this season is game over, isn't it? It's looking sketchy as it is. Mark says, how do we keep breaking the financial rules? I don't know, because we don't spend that much. I believe we've got the 18th most expensive squad or valued squad in the Premier League, so I don't know how we're doing it. Rudy says, it'd have Marty back in a heartbeat. Yeah, Marty would get in this team, wouldn't he, Rudy? Let's start that debate in there. Wayne says, JJ just making the wrong calls. Put it in row Z. I'm going to ask Tom that. I'm going to bring Tom in. I know a few people have clicked on the link. I'm going to put the link out there again. Tom, thanks as ever for clicking on the link. Wayne says here, JJ just making the wrong calls. Put it in row Z. Sometimes, Tom, we just need to go back to some basics, don't we?
Oh, mate. Being in the ground and everything like that, to watch that unfold, to see the goal call for it twice because he wanted to kick it into row Z or up the field, and then see JJ do what he did, it was heartbreaking. Like, how many times have we seen him make a mistake in that position? Clear the lines, reset. It was a simple option. Are you trying to do what I'd done most of the game, win a foul, hadn't won nothing? And instead of going to the ball, stopped, thinking the man was going to run into the back of me, well, the youngster decided to be more clever than he was and nicked round the outside of him and nicked the ball. And from that point on, it was game over there. We were so out of position. Our defensive shape were gone, and runs in the box. And what can you say? He pulls it back to 4 or 5 Villa players standing there waiting for tap-ins. And again, another game's a positive performance in my view. The first half, yes, it might have been dull. We didn't create much, but we were in the game still. And then even at 1-1, you were still in the game until that mistakes. But as much as you're going to slate JJ, you have to slate the attacking players when they have chances. And Mavididi at 0-0, I'm sorry, people can say it's a hard chance. He pays the money to put the ball in the net. Mavididi has to put that ball, even on target. You can't be going hitting the corner flag from where he was on the pitch at that position. That ball has to hit the target. So as much as you say, JJ, sorry, but Mavididi has to do better with the chances. And you can't create in the Premier League, as we said when we got promoted. You're not going to have that many chances as we were getting in the Championship. In the Championship, we had loads of chances because we've got a lot of creative players. The Premier League, you aren't going to get half of them, not even a quarter of those chances against the clubs in and around. So when they fall to you, you have to take them. And I still say now, if we'd gone 1-0 up at the weekend, I believe we would have gone on to get more than a point from that game, because if you'd been in the ground like I was, Villa Park was frustrated. And he only started singing at 60-odd minutes when they scored the first goal. It was dead, and they were getting angry. They were getting frustration. We did a good job on them up to that point. It just shows you that the crucial times, mistakes happen at the back, but if you don't put the ball in the net when you have those big chances in games, you ain't going to win games at this level for me.
Yeah, Jason says JJ's not been the only player at the back this season, made basic errors this season. Again, Tom, Vestergaard had an overall okay performance at Villa maybe, but that header down to Ross Barkley, it just like, it's schoolboy 101, like, don't do that with a header. You don't head it down. Again, I don't want to call it pub football stuff, but you need to get ahead on it. You need to put it out of the danger zone. He puts it straight down to Ross Barkley, who finishes it well, but
there's two problems with that for me.
El Khanous doesn't come back and tackle him either. He's not watching his man. All this El Khanous is amazing and all that. He's got to do some of the basics right for me as well.
Completely. I was going to say there's 2 mistakes. Well, the Vestergaard one's a tricky one. For me, he's stretching for the header. It isn't as simple trying to head it away. He's stretching for that. But he's stretching for it. He hasn't got a clean header on it. If he gets a clean header, he probably gets it away. But he's overstretching when he heads it in the first place. That's, not help the situation. But the criminal part for me is Vardy and El Khanous are both standing on the edge of the area, and not one of them charged back to try and stop Bartley. He has to take a touch first, but not one of them come back. And for me, as soon as that ball comes to the edge of the area, El Khanous should be switched on to be going to him. We know what a deadly person is outside the box. He's done it to us before. You've got to be picking up your man outside the box. You can't just rely on the defenders to clear the first ball. There's always the second phase, and we weren't switched on for the second phase. It's simple as that.
Mark says here, I agree, Mark. Listen, JJ's a decent player. Someone sit JJ down and show him clips of how he played when he first joined us. And I've got another one here, if I can find it, from Nick Ball said it earlier, and it was a way back. But effectively, you can't, for me, you just can't blame JJ for the second goal, because I think, Nick says here, I think blaming JJ for the second goal is nonsense. I've looked at it a couple of times, as have I, Nick, and would expect Ayew to move towards the ball, although I think Ayew is saying kick it out. But JJ has been trained to pass the ball out and not hoof it, Tom. This is what we've been playing for the last 18 months under Brendan, to an extent, when we went down, and under Enzo, is let's pass it out from the back. The thought of somebody just hoofing it out, old school, they don't seem to want to do them.
No, but if you listen to Van Nistelrooy's interview after, he was quite adamant that that ball should have gone. That, you know, if you listen to his interview, he didn't hide behind it. He said it was a genuine mistake and we should have cleared the lines. Those were his words, basically. You know, he's expecting his players to clear the lines and set up again defensively. He's not expecting JJ to clip the ball in that position. That's not what he's asked the players to do in that position at that point in the game, mate. You know, I think Van Nistelrooy is quite clear. He'd rather we'd gone along there and got rid of the ball and then reset. I think after the game he said it. So I'm not thinking Van Nistelrooy's told him to do that, because I think Van Nistelrooy's a bit more switched on than we all believe, that he knows when we should be playing and not be playing. I think that's taken into JJ's took that decision that, I can play out here. When clearly, if you look at the back four when he does it and the goal goes in, every single one of them are pointing away. Every one of them. They all look at the ground, then look at him and point. You should have got rid of that. You know, and I think it comes to a point where, look, it's hard on JJ, but generally the only other option we have as a right back at the moment is Hamza Chowdhury. And as much as he's had a good game here and there, he's not really a right back. He's not a right back. And he could do a job, I suppose. But you're asking him to go maybe 4, 5, 6 games now, playing him at a right back position. He will make a mistake there because it's not his natural position to be so defensive and man mark and be nowhere he needs to be on the pitch constantly. So, look, it's an option. Maybe you got to play him for a few games, but that's one of the big areas for me that this transfer window has to be to get a right back in the door to cover for him.
Let's get in Clivo. Clivo, thanks for joining us again. Great to get you on and get your views. What's your take on the club? 5 defeats on the spin. I see a lot of fans being positive and saying, look, we're playing a bit better here and there, but it's 5 defeats on the go. What's your take?
I think you can look back even just before Rodgers was sacked. You know, it's easy in hindsight, but there was fundamental mistakes being made at the top of the club. And I don't think we ever learned from them, to be honest with you. I think, and I know a lot of people made personal comments about Cooper, which I was not one of them, but I think that was a massive mistake. You should have appointed somebody with similar tactics to Enzo and build that squad. They'd been so used to it and they enjoyed that football. I think that is one crucial mistake. So the question, have we left it too late to sack Cooper? I think is irrelevant. I think he should never have been appointed in the first place. And it became a very, very quickly a poison chalice for him. One of the things I wanted to ask you is about the transfer window. I mean, I think you'll all agree, we're always very, very slow on the uptake in terms of when we sign players. But do you think, given our position now, that the reason we haven't signed anyone is our players are looking and thinking, well, actually, now you're 19th, I don't fancy this. Or is it a Rudkin issue again?
I think there's probably 3 or 4 points into this. Firstly, it's obviously how much money is available to spend in this transfer window. None of us know that situation. Obviously, if we're going to get loan players, we have to get them abroad now because we've got 2 Premier League loanees. So that rules out anyone coming on loan from the Premier League unless you can offload Edwards back to Palace. You know, so you've got to look in the loan market abroad. But again, it's always a gamble bringing a foreign player into the Premier League. Sir Alex Ferguson made a good point many years ago that you bring a Premier League player in January, you won't see the best of him until the following season because it takes 6 months to settle in. And then obviously Thursday, it all depends what Van Nistelrooy can attract. I truly think that Van Nistelrooy have a bigger impact on bringing players to the club than Steve Cooper ever would do. I think if you look what Cooper brought in, the likes of Skip, he can't get near the team. Edwards, poor signing from the start. Ockley looks half decent at times, but again, he's a young lad who's not up to speed in the Premier League, and you can see that at times when he gets caught out.
His positioning, for me, alone worries me. And I was really disappointed. I mean, I watched all the pre-season games, and I was alarmed, actually, because when he came in, I thought, wow, this is a young, pacey, athletic, strong centre-back. And I was really pleased with the signing. And even up until probably a month ago, I thought, this guy is what Leicester need. But when I've watched him, and I know a lot of people probably disagree with me, they'll say, he needs to be given a chance. But his positioning worries me. And I think, and I'm going to stick my neck out and say this, and probably get slated in the chat, our best defender is Vestergaard. Because anything positive going forward goes through him. All right, he does make the odd mistake. But if you count how many mistakes the rest of the defenders have made, I mean, I like Cody. I think he's a strong character, which in a dogfight you're going to need. But, the guy, he's playing catch-up still in terms of probably fitness and being involved in the team. I think it's a combination of very poor decisions that have left us in this league, in this position. I do think from the start, had we had Rude, I think we'd be in a very different position. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking mid-table. I'm not an idiot. I think 14th, 15th is something we could have built on next season. At this point, I don't see how we can make up 5 points if Wolves beat. And it's like you said, we obviously can't loan now from the Premier League because Edouard can't go back. It's been reported. I doubt we'll get rid of Buonanotte. In fact, we've triggered a clause, haven't we? So he won't be going back. So it is going to be foreign players. And if we don't get them in now, which was basically my point, if we don't get them in now, like you said earlier, Tom, is that they're not going to have time to settle before 2 games that I believe we don't get 6 points out of. We're in massive, massive trouble.
I agree with you, Clivo. Before I let you go, are you bothered at all about the FA Cup on Saturday, or do you just say leave it alone?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity. I always think there's opportunities with cup games. I would love to see some of the fringe players, one getting a bit of fitness, but I'd love to see the likes of Golding playing, Alves, and Everson. Let's not play Skalacic, because if he gets injured, we're in big trouble. So I'd like to see Everson in goal, and I'd like to see some of the fringe players, and maybe even stick Hamza on the right just to see if he can, just get used to that position, because I think it's incredibly unfair on JJ. He has made a lot of mistakes, but naturally that guy's a left back with a right foot. Yeah.
No, I agree. Clibo, listen, thanks so much for joining us again.
Yeah, no problem.
See you again very soon. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks for that. It's great to get everybody's views on here. Of course, I've shared the link again, Tom. Transfers, Tom. I know it's only the 6th of January, but they're going to play an important role, aren't they? Clibo there was just mentioning about we can't. What he means is we can't loan in anybody from the Premier League and any of the Premier League sides. We are going to have to look at either loaning in players or buying players from the Championship or abroad. And there are names out there, Tom, but it's a massive January for Leicester City Football Club, isn't it? Because if we get this transfer window wrong, or we're slow in it, you could be upsetting what goes on for the next 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years at the club if we were to get relegated.
Well, yeah, I think we all know if we go down this season, we will be down and we will get stuck in the Championship like a Leeds did, like, some of the big clubs, Ipswich, your Portsmouth. We could be in massive, massive problems. We all know that. Let's not kid ourselves. This January transfer could make or break, not like you said, not just the next 6 months, but the next 5 to 8 years of where we're going to be playing football, because we ain't just going to bounce straight back, because if we go down, the Football League can't wait for us to get into that division so they can chuck some penalties and fines at us if they want to, or try and do it. As I said earlier, going into the foreign market is always just, I said earlier, for Alex Ferguson has always said, you bring a foreign player in, it takes 6 months for him to settle in. You will not see the best of him until the next season. For me, you've got to go and find Premier League players who are proven, and it's going to cost you. That's the only problem, to do that. Or he's got to go to his network in Holland. I think there is variable funds. Ruud's come out and said they've already had talks. It was very positive. He knows what there is and know what they're going to be able to go and do in the market. It didn't sound like this was 12, when we were talking 12 months ago, and Rodgers, the last time in the Premier League, and Rodgers was going, well, I don't know what we've got. And then we had to go and take loans out against TV rights to go and buy Victor Christensen and, Suter and get Tete in and players like that. We're a different scenario to that point. But they've still got to go and get these deals done quickly for me, because if not, we're going to have a month gone before we know it. And then suddenly you just got February, March, April and May. And like the next 5 games, it could be crucial, but the back 5 could be crucial as well. That run against Forest, Ipswich, Southampton at the back end of the season, home to Bournemouth on the last days, it possibly in my head.
Away at Bournemouth last game.
Those last 5 games could be crucial as well.
There's points available. The last 5 games, Tom, there is points available, but we've got to stick in it to get anywhere near there.
And you've got to do that in the last, in these next 5 as well, because you don't want to be doing what we did under Nigel Pearson and go and have to win 7 out of the last 9 games, because that's not going to happen all the times. But for me, we've got an opportunity now to get things done quickly, and that's what we've got to do. Can't be hanging around, because I think Van Nistelrooy will start getting frustrated if we don't make transfers, because he can obviously see this group of players are good enough. He believes in what we've come into. I truly believe that, because I don't think he would come if he didn't think he could keep us up. His reputation is on the line here as well as a manager in the Premier League. And for me, he's going to want the players in the door. He knows where the mistakes are happening. You saw at the weekend, he's straight away, good performance, but again, it's cost us. And he's going to want to get a win soon, because if not, you can't keep losing football matches and think you're going to turn it around, because then you're in massive, massive problems. Look at Ipswich. They started off slow. It took to last week or so before they got their first win. Now they've got 2 wins on a win and a draw on the bounce, a bit like we did the other week. Now it's about how will they continue that run and see if they can pull away. The biggest club for me to try and keep in there is Everton. They haven't won in about 7 games now. Sean Dyche is under pressure, and obviously with a new board there, be interesting to see what the money they've got available as well in the January window.
Tom, this is a big topic, and I want a very, very brief answer from you. Got to keep it brief. We could do half hour on this. Scooby asks, and I think it's worth asking at this stage, do you think that upstairs are to blame for a little of this over the last 2 or 3 years at all? For me, Tom, there's been so many things within the club over the last 2, 3, 4 years, even the plastic cards being one of those things, and just it feels like they struggle to make a right decision. I think appointing Enzo was a big yes, correct. And then apart from that, there's not many other big decisions where you look at transfers and you go, when was the last transfer, Tom, we made that you go, Madsen maybe, where you went, great signing?
I think you've got to look at it in 2 ways for me, and I'm open this way. I think it's 50-50. And when I say 50-50, I think it's 50% the board upstairs got things wrong. I think they left it too late to sack Rodgers. I think that was one of their biggest mistakes. I think he should have gone after he should have gone after the Stockport draw in the Cup when the fans were all crying for him to go. Yes, we went on a mini run then and won 8 games, but soon after Christmas, as soon as those 2 or 3, 4 defeats started coming, the board should have got rid of him, because I truly believe Dean Smith would have kept us up if he'd had another 5, 6 games in the division. I also have to think COVID's killed us as a football club financially from where we were at, because we were relying on getting into Europe. So the players mucked it up with the Champions League twice, but bottled it twice in a row, because finishing in that top 4, if we'd done the 2 seasons in a row, financially would have absolutely made us for the next 5 to 10 years, because the money would have been huge from getting into it for one, but from the ticket sales, the TV rights, everything what comes with that. To get into the Europa League, and then the biggest thing was COVID hit us, what had a massive impact on King Power as a duty-free company, a massive impact on most football clubs because the revenue completely dropped off without ticket sales and food and hospitality and everything like that. It made the club weaker because we didn't have the funds like we did. The problem was then you'd got a lot of players on big wages. heartbreak happened and we got relegated with probably the best squad that's ever gone down, in my view, in the Premier League at the time. And
the most expensive to ever get relegated, for sure.
Yeah. But I think probably one of the most talented to go down. You know, you look at the players we had on the pitch, those in that final game of the season: Maddison, Tillemans, Barnes, Vardy, Kelechi Iheanacho at some point in the game. You know, wow, Faz, you know, you had a good core of players there who would get into most Premier League teams for fun, you know, and they are doing now who's left us if you look at it.
Well, Tom, our current team would not stand a chance against that team.
Can I just say one thing? Tony Smith, I agree that did happen to every club, but not every club is owned by a duty-free company, and that was our biggest impact. The King Power Group is a duty-free company. It relies on travel, and when you stop travel to 8 to 10 months, like COVID did, that lost a lot of revenue into the King Power Group to then put anything back into the football club, because for me they had to save their company first, and that was save their brand. And Leicester City didn't get the money they were getting before, possibly, from it. I'm not saying it is one reason; it's a possibility though. But for me, it's 50-50. I think bad decisions at the wrong time, and for me, how can a director of football do a review of the season going down without having his job reviewed? And I've always said that.
Well, yeah, it's like he's marking their own homework, isn't it, or pupils?
Yeah. No one marked his job, and then we've come back up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, look at me, I've done well. We got back. You know, I put in Enzo." Yeah. But then you chose Stu Cooper, it never worked.
I mean, Nick says here, players leaving on free transfers over the years have also killed us. Can't get rid of players on stupid wages. I'm going to bring that back to right now today, Tom. Right now. What have we done with Edouard? What is going on? He doesn't. For me, Tom, if we're losing against Liverpool, against Man City, against Villa, against Newcastle, with 10 minutes to go, why don't we see 10 minutes of Edouard and 10 minutes of Daka? Why don't we play two up top? Take Vardy off. He's 38 years almost. Why don't we see Edouard? But rather than, or if we're not going to see him, why have him on the bench? You might as well have the best striker from the under-23s on the bench, getting some use to it.
I'll just reply to this one quickly. Where's it gone? Rubbish. What about Etihad and right? Let me just go back to one point.
Well, they're sponsors.
I know. I'm just saying they are sponsors, but
the sponsor.
But I'm just saying the club they're sponsoring is an Arsenal and a Manchester City, who globally are 10, 20 times bigger than Leicester City will ever be in my lifetime. They are a global enterprise, and money for them doesn't matter because they'll find anything else to do it. I just want to pick on that point.
No, I hear.
We have wasted money, mate. We've got money still wasted. But again, I wasted money. Again, it was that was a panic sign for me. Why
is he on the bench then? If nobody's going to play him, why put him on the bench?
Yeah, but we need, I know exactly. But again,
it obviously shows 23 striker in.
It obviously shows you that Van Nistelrooy, who was a top striker back in his day, can see that he's not good enough for the Premier League. The problem you got is, mate, this again comes back to it was a Rudkin and Cooper signing. They panic buyed because they needed a striker. It was coming to the end of the window, and who can we get? He's available because the agents would all been going out there. My bloke needs a transfer, and they panicked. But they panic signed him, mate. And again, it shows you poor management, because we should never ever sign a contract or a loan thing that we couldn't terminate his contract or send him back. That's ludicrous from the start.
Tony says he's on 90 grand a week. He'll be on decent money. I don't know what it is at all, Tony, but And then, he said we've sooner have Cannon back than Edouard. Again, that's not going to happen. But
again,
we had a young talented striker in Cannon, and we.
Again, you have now to put Alves on the bench, who's not played a lot of football in the last year and a half, 2 years, because of a broken leg and all that. But again, it's where you're at now, that you're playing another young player on the bench, when really in the Premier League, we all know it, you need to have some experience in there, and you can't keep relying on 38-year-old Jamie Vardy to keep putting the ball in the net the whole season. Just doesn't happen.
Yeah, indeed. I'm going to add Ryan in. Ryan's clicked on the link. Don't forget, if you want to click on the link, you can do so. Ryan, what's your take? Good evening, Ryan. What's your take on, first of all, Ryan, what shirt are you wearing, mate? What is that?
Sorry, it's a Spain shirt.
Okay, fair enough. I thought for a second it was a Forest shirt, because, of course, tonight, Ryan, We're all closet Forest fans. We need them to beat Wolves, mate.
Yeah, we are. But would you really be trusting Nottingham Forest at this moment in time, even though they're flying at the minute?
They should beat Wolves, shouldn't they, though?
Yeah, but strange things happen in the Premier League, don't they?
Yeah. Ryan, what do you want to say about the current state of Leicester?
Oh, goodness me. I've got to say, I think we are absolutely at our lowest point, I think. Not just on the pitch, but off it. Looking at our current situation, I think it's going to be a real struggle, not just this season, but if we do go down, I can't see us bouncing back at all.
Tom, I want to spin it from what Ryan's saying. You were at the match on Saturday against Villa. And obviously, we had a semi-decent performance there. We had a better performance against Man City. Are you taking some optimism forward, Tom, to the Crystal Palace game?
I think you got to. I think the performances are getting better week in, week out, what I've seen. I mean, for me, Man City, yes, it was probably a better performance against Man City. But again, I don't think that was the best Man City side we've seen in a long time to come to the King Power. They look very unorganised and they look like they could be got at. The difference in that game was we didn't take our chances again. When you got someone like Haaland standing up front, he's always going to score goals against our back line, sadly. The Villa game was, I think, we were more disciplined defensively as a unit. I think we set up pretty well in the first half and we frustrated them. Our biggest weakness going forward is obviously what cost us. But those two performances, you have to, I know, look, points wins, your points are going to push up the league, but you've got to have some kind of structure and some kind of performance level to be even to get points in the Premier League. Yes, look, West Ham at home, whatever it was, 32 shots against their own goal and we went and won the game. If West Ham had been clinical, it could have been a cricket score if we're honest about it. The performance for me are getting better. The problem we got is until you cut out the silly errors, that's going to cost you football matches going forward, and you will not win games with players keeping making mistakes at the back. The performances are lifting, and that's a good sign. But you cut out the errors and you take the chances, we will start winning games. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, that's interesting, Tom. For me, Ryan, my jury's out. I'm like, yes. A lot of people saying good performances, and I go, well, it was like 21 days ago we lost at home to Wolves, and the Palace, Ryan, and Fulham games. I'm almost saying there have to be 6 points. They don't.
Yeah, I think they do.
They've got to be 6.
I think they do, but the problem is you can't trust us defensively because we keep making, as Tom was saying just now, we keep making individual errors. It keeps happening every single week. And unfortunately, you can't trust them to stop making errors.
Tom, is Fulham and Palace, well, Palace then Fulham, I hate to say it, but is it, I mean, are they both must-wins? Are we literally stood here going, I mean, if we don't get relegated, if we don't beat them, but if you want to stay up this season, having had 14 points out of something, like what we're on, 20 games, it's got to be 6 points. It's got to be certainly 4.
I think, well, that's in my head how I looked at these two games. I looked at it as the Palace was the one you have to get the win against to pull yourself back up towards them. Fulham at home is not an easy game. That team has been flying this year. Marco Silva's gotten playing some very good football at times. And yeah, they made a few mistakes. Look, Cassania gave a penalty away, for God's sake, you know what I mean? That's still a very good Fulham team. We're not talking about an Everton come to the King Power or a Southampton. We're talking about a team who are being up around the top 8, 9, 10 all season. That's not an easy game for me. So for me, I know we'd like 6 points, but I'd take 4 points now. As someone said, you're going to get 4 points from them 2 games. Don't really care which way it came, if it was a draw against Palace. I'd rather we win against Palace to get that win first, and then you go into a home game with Fulham and you at least take a point from it, because then obviously the next few games are quite tricky. Who we got after that? Arsenal's in there, Spurs,
Yeah, but the problem is, I hate to break to cut in, but the problem is, even if we do that, the problem is with the PSR situation, we could still end up being deducted points.
It's game over.
If we get 1 points, 2 points, even if the 2 points wouldn't make a difference, if we get deducted 8 to 10 points, that is it. There's no comeback. You're not going to get the 8 points back anyway. So the 2 points that they're saying could be the difference in those games wouldn't make a big difference in that PSL. Look, I'm not worried about the thing that will happen. If it does, it does. There's other teams also who's going to get penalised in that situation as well, not just Leicester, Everton, Forest, Chelsea. There are all some big clubs that could get penalised in that situation. And look how long it took them last time to put these points deduction into place. So look, that will be when it comes up.
Yeah, Richie says not bothered about PSR, which is sort of what Tom's saying. There's nothing you can worry about that. What the club can do, Ryan, is make some signings. Are you expecting to see at least one transfer, one shape or form before the Palace game, Ryan?
I have no confidence in us making any signings, so I can't trust that.
Do you think, Ryan, there won't be any signings before the Palace game?
I can't see it.
Right, I'm going to put that out there. So we've got to finish off. There's so much to talk about. If you're watching this, I want to know, do you think we'll make a signing before somebody who can play in the Crystal Palace game? Tom, I hate to say it. I really don't want to say it. I hate to say it. I actually agree with Ryan. I think we won't have a new player in that team for the Palace game. What's your thoughts, Tom? If you're honest.
You put me on the If I'm honest, no, I don't. I think the way we've been the last 4 or 5 January transfer windows, everything seems to take way too long to get done. And I truly believe that if we should have been on the ball like Ipswich were, I think Ben Godfrey is a cracking signing. Cracking signing for Ben Godfrey. That is a player that could play 4 positions across the back line. Also can play sort of a midfielder role if you need him to. A player that was raved about for many years, who was going to be another big player and faded away, but gone abroad and sort of not worked out. But again, another player that could have done a job for us. Look, we need to get some players in. Do I think before a week on Wednesday? Not at the moment, no.
But Tom, I mean, that's 3 of us here. That's all 3 of us thinking that the way the club's been, I think somebody asked the question, is this all part of how the club's been over the last 2, 3, 4 years? Ryan, you don't think we'll have a new player for Palace?
Nope.
I don't. I hope we do. I don't. Tom, even you're saying you just think probably it won't happen.
I just think the way we've been the last 3 to 4 January transfer windows, how long it's taken us to sign players, I just don't see us bringing anyone. You can't trust anyone to get the job done. And then for some reason, we are the only club who seem to struggle in January to sign players. Everyone else seems to pick players up when they need to, but Leicester just seems to struggle for some reason, or it takes too long.
Even Wolves are starting to looking to sign a couple of players in. I mean,
Ryan, listen,
be the century.
Ryan, thanks so much for joining us again. I'm going to let you go. I appreciate it. Go and change your shirt, Ryan.
I will do.
See you soon. Thanks so much for joining us. Great to get Ryan on and Clibo on, Tom. I think this is part of my issue, Tom, is that will we have new signings for Palace? And I'm just being honest. I don't think we will. I want us to. And I'm going to just see what people are saying in here. Michael says, I don't think we'll sign any. David says no. Scooby says, I think we'll only make 2 signings full stop. Steve Bean says no. Andy Downing, no. Tony says no. Graham says Forest are winning 1-0, which is great after only 8 minutes. Get in, Forest. I can't believe, Tom, I'm actually saying that.
Really,
yes, we will, says Nathan. Says, yeah, we will get players in. A few people saying Walker Peters. There are players out there, Tom, potential for us to come in. Dele Alli, where's he? He's out somewhere, isn't he? Potential. But
he's in Monaco at the moment, training with them, possibly signing to them as well.
I think we're going to have to gamble on somebody to come in, a Cambiasso. So you're going to have to find somebody like that who can get a grip of this.
It's interesting you mentioned him, mate, because when I was on the boot room the other week with Mike Stow, and I asked him the question and said, what you were only losing game by the odd goal in there, what was great, but what was the belief? Why did you believe that you could get out of it? And he said basically it was Cambiasso would come in every single day, and his first words, he'd walk into the pack dressing room and say, we're going to get out of this, boys. He truly believed that we could get out. He believed in the squad, he believed in the players, and that rubbed off from the players that even though we're losing most weeks by the odd goal, Cambiasso being in and around that dressing room and saying every single morning, we're going to get at this, boys. The results will turn soon. And then we went on that run and he kept saying it, he said, and just having someone in that squad, that experience makes a hell of a difference. But you try and find another Cambiasso now to come and do that job. It's going to be bloody hard.
It's not going to be easy, Tom. Listen, I guess the good news tonight is Forest are winning. What are we doing on Leicester Fan TV saying that's good news?
No, I'm not insane.
I'm
not going as low. No, I'm not going to you. I'd rather say this one, and let's go and get him out of retirement. Where is he? Danny, come off the building site, mate. You can come back. All is forgiven. I'm not saying anything against Forest. I'm not saying anything for Forest ever in my lifetime, Philip. Forget that.
Tom, before we finish, I want a big come on, Forest.
Not a chance.
Come on, you Reds.
Rather eat my hat.
Look, here's Reedy. Yeah, we all know you're a Forest fan, you closet. Right, look.
Go on, Forest.
What a joke. Listen, anyway, Tom, thanks. Yeah, I mean, look, Tony says we had Cambiasso, now we've got Skip. So many of these players have just not worked out, Tom. But I'm not talking about just this summer. Last year, you know, there's been a whole catalogue over the last 5 or 6 years of players who haven't worked out. Listen, we could go on for hours, Tom. Thanks so much for joining us.
No problem, mate. Always good chats.
Reedy is a tree. I like that. Tony Smith gets the last comment. All right, then. Thanks, Tom. We'll see you very, very soon.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Thanks to Tom. I couldn't get him to say it. None of us want to say, come on, Forest, but we need a win. We need a win from them. Chris says, get them. I'm trying to see. Yeah, where's all the Leicester red shirts? They're all away for a bit, but that's where we're at. We need Forest to beat Wolves tonight. If we don't, then Wolves could start to stretch. Wolves were behind us before we played them by a long way. If we'd have just beat them, that was a real 6-pointer and could have set us off on something, but it's not. Listen, we're going to be live on Thursday with the Tactics team talk at lunchtime with Reedy and Sam, so join them about 12:30. Simon and Jono will be live at 7:30 on Thursday night with a preview of the QPR. We didn't even talk about QPR. I'm not interested. Play the young lads. Let's give them a chance. Let's see what we've got in reserve because we need to see what's going on. Listen, thanks to everybody who's come on video, Clibo, Ryan, Tom, everybody. But most of all, thanks for all your views and comments. That's what Leicester Fan TV is all about. We like to get as many of them on screen as possible. I'll be back here next Monday. I'll see you at the match on Saturday. See you very soon. Come on, Leicester.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.